Instead of getting flyer cars in the future, we ended up getting Teslas that exploded out of the blue. So clearly, the world of automobiles and machinery as it is unpredictable as it can be. So what are the new changes that might happen? Everyone talks about the additions in vehicles, but what about the features that won't be there in cars in the future? No more car keys? No more built-in ashtrays? No more tailpipes that are sticking out? What are the things that are being modified or removed? Number 7. One of the biggest selling points for people who don't do that much research before purchasing a vehicle and just go for the looks of the car is the car's interior. The more fun little things like a cup holder, ashtray, LEDs, and a uniquely shaped steering wheel, the better the car will seem in the uninformed person's opinion. But with the passage of time, whether it's for the sake of marketing or publicity, manufacturers are removing a lot of little facilities like built-in lighters and ashtrays in cars. Why? Well, if Nestle can make those insufferable paper straws a marketing tactic where they pretend to care for the environment, then why can't automobile manufacturers do that as well? However, it would be wrong to insinuate that only marketing is the only reason behind this upgrade. In several countries, smoking inside a vehicle has been strictly prohibited. Realistically speaking, if there are 4 people in a vehicle and one of them is a smoker, then it goes without saying that at least one of them tolerates the smoker and is severely disturbed because of it. So to play their part as much as possible in solving the problem, manufacturers have ditched this feature and offer it as a separate optional accessory. Number 6. Another interesting car feature that used to be considered a very important part of a vehicle but is now going extinct is the good old hand-cranked windows. Statistically speaking, about 6% of your total purchase when you get a new vehicle is dedicated to the windows. There was a time when wind-up windows used to be a part of even the most exclusive and high-tech models, but safe to say that everything has changed. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, despite being a more expensive option thanks to trickle-down economies, people are willing to splurge a little and get the more advanced option. And because of that, seeing a manual window in cars is rare these days and would be even rarer in the future. But what's the reason behind this modification? Well, first of all, why would anyone want a manual feature in their car when it could be automatic or controllable just by pressing a button? Not only that, but if we consider bigger vehicles bought generally by people who have toddlers and big families, then a manual handler can be easily considered a toy by a child and things can get out of hand a little too quickly. Number 5. One of the signature characteristics of old cars that are considered antique is their pop-up headlights. At that time, having a pop-up headlight in your car was probably the closest thing to having a Batmobile. However, people started considering its safety hazards for several reasons. But these days, as cool as this feature is, it's very hard to spot in cars. One of the biggest reasons behind this extinction of this feature is in the 2004 European design law, according to which the front end of the vehicle must be deformable so that in case of an accident, the pedestrian suffers from the least amount of injuries possible. That is also the reason why modern cars are so much more bulb-like in shape and have higher hoods than the older models. However, the cost that the consumers and manufacturers had to pay to ensure passenger and pedestrian safety was that the new cars don't have sharp edges or pop-up headlights anymore. However, if you happen to be an owner of a vehicle that has a pop-up headlight, then you don't have to worry much since it is still legal to drive a vehicle with a pop-up headlight. The law only prohibited manufacturers from making more vehicles with the now extinct feature. Number 4. One of the most annoying things when you're a car owner is the time that you misplace your keys or just lose them. Where is it? Is it in the bowl, on the shelf, behind the sofa cushions? Did you check my own jeans? All of us has gone through this, and if there's one thing everyone can agree on, it's the frustration we feel after losing our keys. But with the passage of time, when every single thing can be digitally locked and unlocked, then why can't cars? Say goodbye to the jingling mess you have to worry about every time to go out or to come back home. The new models of automobiles can be easily digitally unlocked or locked again. The only sad thing about this modification is that you won't feel the familiar jingle or weight in your pockets anymore. Having a bundle of keys in your pocket gives the car owner a particularly sense of ownership and confidence, but seems like with the digitalization of this feature, future car owners won't be experiencing it anytime soon. Number 3. According to sources, the emissions produced by passenger cars have been steadily rising over the past 2 decades, increasing from 2.2 billion metric tons in 2000 to a peak of 3.2 million metric tons. So now that everyone is being environmentally conscious, what are automobile companies doing to reduce the yearly carbon emissions for which cars are responsible? Well, one of the first modifications we've seen so far is that the usual tailpipe that used to stick out from the back of the car is not there anymore. In modern vehicles, the tailpipe ends are hidden behind the rear bumper and are bent over, instead of just straight out pointed outwards. But what difference does it make to the vehicle overall? Not much if you ask. Yes, the per vehicle carbon emissions are reduced, but the cars don't sound the same as the old ones anymore. Not only that, but the smoke can't be seen coming out of the tailpipe like it used to. Cars these days are shaped to look like a lot more of an elegant car than the ones before them. Number 2. The scenes including handbrakes might have been an essential part of the action scenes movies like Fast and the Furious, but the franchise might have to reconsider a few things if they plan to never stop making movies. Why? Because future cars might not have the manual handbrake anymore. Introduced first in 2001 in the Renault Velsatis, the electronic handbrake has been the reason behind the gradual yet very noticeable extinction of handbrakes. For people who thoroughly understand and love cars, this might be yet another loss. Even today, a huge population prefers to drive a manual vehicle instead of the latest automatic versions just because they want to enjoy the experience of actually driving their car. Such people drive with confidence that their automatic car drivers can never have. But with more and more modification, traditional features like a manual handbrake become very rare to spot.
E-brakes,
hydraulic handbrakes,
fly-offs.
the normal e-brake handbrake in a normal car, not really for braking, it's rather when the car is stationary, to keep it stationary. So you just apply it when the car is stationary, then you apply it with a lever or with a knob, and modern cars mostly have the knobs, like electrical ones.
It's a button, pretty much.
It's a button, basically. And so that's for the car not rolling off when you parked it.
It is a parking brake.
Number 1. As you mentioned at the start of the video, people who don't do a lot of research before buying a vehicle just take a look at its interior and decide if it's good enough or not. So if the car's interior has the same old knobs and buttons in the infotainment area, then there's nothing special. And for once, we agree with them. Why? Well, if you're driving, do you really want to spend time looking for the right button or twisting the knob right enough to adjust the volume? Don't you think that's a little dangerous? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. So to avoid any accidents or distractions during driving, modern vehicles don't have the same old knobs and buttons in the infotainment center anymore. The newer vehicles come with touch-sensitive buttons which mimic the latest touchscreen mobile phones. However, this change is rather controversial in a lot of people's opinions, as they have to actually take their eyes off the road and look at the screen before adjusting the settings. According to them, buttons and knobs weren't that much of an inconvenience. With the passage of time, you get used to the positioning of the buttons and can adjust the knobs accordingly without looking. However, the latest vehicles often include touch-sensitive buttons in their infotainment, and just like that, another feature of the older cars is on its way to extinction. Alright folks, that's all for today. Make sure to click on one of the videos on your screen right now.